The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball.
And welcome into Views from the Sideline. I'm your host, Joey Tyson, my partner, Malik Hill. It's October 14th, getting into the nitty-gritty. Big Ten's a week away, and we got lots to talk about. Malik, how you doing?
I'm all right, I guess.
I see you have the Michigan merch back on.
Yeah, I'll always wear Michigan merch, but yeah, I gotta start wearing it more now.
Get a little
'cause
more prepared.
that disappointment of a team is rolling right back around. I'm trying to have some optimism. Who knows?
Well,
but
it's only disappointment, though, if you're looking for like a national championship or something. Or to make it to the college football playoff.
and that's
But that's what the Michigan fans
that's
want.
what
I mean, that's
the
what
point,
everybody
Joey.
necessarily wants. Except for
I
MSU
listen,
fans, they just want to win
I
this
just
year.
want a Big Ten title appearance.
Yeah.
Them winning it would be incredible. Something I've never seen. But them just getting there, that would make the rest of this year for me.
Yeah.
That would make the entire year.
I agree. But we don't have to talk about that for another week. Michigan is going to get Minnesota in their first game. Malik informed me they're going to get the big 7 o'clock game
Yep.
next Saturday, which should be cool.
Gotta do Michigan and Michigan State previews. Michigan
Yeah.
State one won't be very long, but yeah.
No, they won't be. But anyway, a lot of big college football that happened this past weekend. Malik, start us off.
So there were just a handful of top 25 games. So not a lot to go over, but the wildest, most entertaining game of the weekend was the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma versus Texas.
Mm-hmm. I actually
Um,
saw that game.
They are two teams that have made the Big 12 look horrible so far this season.
Yeah.
Oklahoma started out 1-2 going into that game. Their first start like that since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Texas almost lost to Texas Tech in week 2. They've both just been disappointments. And Oklahoma won a wild one, 53
Yeah, they
to
did.
45. Oklahoma should have wrapped it up in regulation. They were up 31-17 in the fourth quarter. They let it slip away. Spencer Rattler was benched at one point in the game, but
Mhm.
he came back later in the overtimes. He played really well. He's just ridiculously talented. He might be the most talented quarterback they've had out of even the Heisman winners. His ability to throw it anywhere, any way is just incredible.
Hmm.
Yeah, Oklahoma gets a win they really needed in Texas.
The rare quadruple overtime.
Yeah, Texas is they're in a bad place right now. Their fans are angry. They want Tom Herman out soon.
To be fair, though, I don't know why Texas fans are surprised. This is what Texas has
'Cause-
been for like the last 10 years.
Like, come on, Michigan football, Texas, all of these programs that have this historical significance and are known to
Right.
be winners, the fans are going to expect winning still,
Yeah.
even when the disappointments come. And this Texas team, even though they've been a disappointment for a long time, all the talent that they returned to this team from the past year or two, they have returning starters at almost every position. Their offense is stacked
Yeah.
on paper,
Right.
but the product isn't showing it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that goes to development, that goes to coaching. So there's good reason for people to want Tom Herman out because he's just not delivering at all.
Yeah.
I feel
And it's like we talked off air. It's like, when was the last time Texas was actually relevant? I know they get ranked high at the beginning of almost every year,
Yeah.
but the last time I can even remember them being good is Colt McCoy.
they were relevant the year Alabama won their first national championship under Nick Saban when they played Texas.
Mm-hmm.
2009
Yeah.
was the last time they were relevant.
Yeah.
Sad. Very sad.
Been a long time.
But yeah, besides that, Texas A&M upset Florida at Texas A&M. it was a pretty weird sight because they had like I think it was like 80% capacity, and there was like real crowd noise. People were getting hype. It was like a great sight to see, but still weird because of this COVID stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, they got upset. They honestly should have won, but Kellen Mond played one of the best games of his career. Dan Mullen was adamant about Florida allowing full capacity games after this game because the crowd was part of the main reason they started falling apart near the end of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Florida got their game postponed this week because of COVID stuff. So yeah, Florida's still a mess.
Wow, big surprise.
North Carolina won a shootout versus Virginia Tech, 56-45. There's a serious lack of defense in college football so far this season, but
Well, we've seen that even in the NFL. So I think it's partially just an NFL thing with having less practice or
yeah,
full
that's
practice,
a part. That's
like
a part of it.
game speed type
But
stuff.
the offenses are fine. So
Right,
it's
but
weird that I understand not tackling is tough, but it's still wild how much.
well,
This
it's
has
like
been
they
out of
say
control.
already, like this day and age, it's already so hard to play like man coverage and stuff on these receivers and things. And to now not have any time necessarily to be full game speed on these guys, that it just seems like the offense is typically going to win those matchups and the defense just has to work a little bit harder. So I would say it's easier to get an offense running than a defense running for the most part.
You're probably right about that. North Carolina's number 5 in the polls right now, and as we know, the polls don't honestly mean a lot
Yeah.
in the first few weeks of the season. So that number 5 is just exciting for North Carolina fans to see.
My girlfriend's happy about that.
W-
Big North
yeah.
North Carolina fan.
Probably won't mean much in like 3 weeks, but it is what it is. Good for North Carolina. They're a growing.
I was gonna say
program that's,
they've
yeah.
been getting better each and every year.
They're going to be competitive against a lot of teams in the next in 2 years they might be in the ACC championship.
Yeah.
So got to keep track of them. Georgia beat Tennessee 44-21. Tennessee gave them a fight in the first half. They were actually up going into the half. But then Georgia, they have the best defense in the country, honestly. They're relentless when they turn it on. Their pass rush is really good. Their coverage is really good. They just got ridiculous amounts of athletes. When it comes to recruiting, Georgia is the only team that competes with Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and actually Clemson is there now too. But
Right.
in the SEC, Georgia is the only team that competes at that level when it comes to recruiting, and it shows because their talent is just ridiculous. BYU is 14th in the nation right now.
Still going. Still running strong. Putting up lots of
I
points.
think their fans better enjoy this while it lasts
Yeah.
because they might not see this again for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And their young quarterback, Zach Wilson, is playing out of his mind right now. I think he leads the country in pass. Going into their game against UTSA this past weekend, he was completing 82% of his passes,
Yeah.
which is video game stuff.
I feel like this BYU team is similar to back in the past, the famous Boise State teams almost, where it's just like you don't think they should even be there, and then they put up points and they're fun to watch.
Well, they honestly haven't played anybody really so far,
Right.
but
Well, and that's how
it's-
Boise State always was too. They didn't play
it's
anybody
also
till
BYU has smacked almost besides this UTSA game.
yeah.
They've smacked almost every team they've gone against. They've just executed at such a high level, and it's been weird to see them play at that high of a level. So
Right.
pretty good for them. Iowa State is undefeated in the Big 12 right now.
That's a big surprise.
They're 3-1. Honestly, it shouldn't be a surprise because this year and last year they've had high expectations to possibly get to the conference championship, and this is another case of maybe they could get there.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten better every week. Brock Purdy has settled in. He's getting used to his new weapons on offense. He lost a lot of guys last year, so yeah, Iowa State playing pretty good. Auburn should have lost to Arkansas. They haven't looked very good this season at all, and Arkansas looks pretty good, which is shocking knowing how bad they've been the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Pittman has them playing really well, and Felipe Franks has been a great veteran presence for them. Hasn't made many mistakes. He thoroughly outplayed Bo Nix in this game. He threw for 350 and 4 touchdowns, no picks. And yeah, it was one of the most controversial plays of the season so far. Bo Nix, I think it was in the fourth quarter. They were going to spike the ball. He fumbled the snap, picked it back up, and then spiked it backwards. So it probably should have been a fumble,
Mm-hmm.
but they said it's still up in the air right now. It was a very crazy play.
And now speaking how we talked about Texas being irrelevant for so many years, Arkansas is a team that hasn't been good since, if anybody knows who Darren McFadden is. I almost feel like we're getting to an era where people don't know who Darren McFadden is, which
It's
is scary.
sad. It's sad. Yeah.
But that's the last time I can remember Arkansas even being
Well,
somewhat
that
relevant.
was the last time they were relevant. They've had some good seasons, like 7, 8 win seasons, but
Yeah.
they've never taken that next step. And who knows? In the next few years, they're recruiting well. They're already playing extremely hard and playing smart football. So maybe they could get back to that relevance soon. Who
Yeah.
knows? Clemson took care of Miami. They just, from the start, it was clear that it's Clemson and everybody else in the ACC, and almost pretty much that for the rest of the country too.
Yeah.
Clemson is the clear number one, and it's not close.
Yeah. I don't see how anybody's really going to beat them at all, to be honest.
Alabama beat Ole Miss 63-48. College basketball is coming back soon. That's probably going to be the score of that game once that game
Yeah.
comes. This is another point of just the lack of defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a surprise because Nick Saban has his guys prepared in every aspect, every little detail, down to the little numbers, the little things. They're always prepared. This game, Lane Kiffin was putting it on them early in the game. Ole Miss, they haven't been known for having really good defenses in the past decade. So
Right.
once they get some defensive players over there, they're gonna have a chance to get to a few SEC championships because they already have a ridiculous amount of talent on offense, and it's showing. Lane is probably going to get Nick Saban once or twice.
Hmm.
And yeah, he's one of the few Nick Saban assistants that didn't leave and just copy what Nick did.
Right.
So Nick just beats up on all of his assistants. Lane shows up and he has a game plan prepared to go against what Nick does, and he doesn't copy. So yeah,
Hmm.
pretty
Well,
impressive showing for Ole Miss.
If only people in the NFL could do that. Talking to you, Patriots.
Patriots assistants. Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
And get him out of here. But we'll talk
Anyway.
about the Lions later. But finally, Notre Dame beat Florida State. Florida State has been pretty embarrassing so far this season, but they've started Jordan Travis, a guy that they usually just bring in to run the ball, but he's shown a lot of growth passing the ball so far this season. And they were able to put up 26 on a pretty good Notre Dame team. So good for them. Notre Dame still looks like they're working some things out. Ian Book has just been Ian Book his entire career,
Mhm.
and there's not much growth or difference in it. He's a good quarterback, but
Nothing special.
he's not going to raise the level or win a game for them.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing once they get to their more challenging games, because people forget they're in the ACC this year.
Yeah.
How will they look in games against North Carolina and Clemson, where they'll need Ian Book to raise his level of play, and he's never shown that he's been able to do it. So
Yeah. He's one of those quarterbacks that it's like he's not going to win you necessarily the game with his talent most of the time, but he's also not going to lose you the game.
exactly.
Like he's a good game manager quarterback. And usually Notre Dame has, some other talent somewhere else on the field anyway, so I think it's okay, but yeah, I feel like right now they need him to step up.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. He doesn't make many mistakes. He doesn't go deep a lot, which is kind of hurt that offense these past few seasons. They haven't had much of a deep passing element, so there's not a whole bunch of huge play breaking plays or game breaking plays.
Yeah.
But he can also get out and run. He doesn't just stand around in the pocket and get hit a lot. He usually gets out and makes a move. So yeah, it's the up and downs of Notre Dame football as usual.
Yeah. Well, next week we will be able to talk more about Big Ten. We'll probably do a Big Ten blowout preview. I'll make sure to even do my own research because I've just been uninspired again. But I've been slowly picking up college football more and more as the weeks go on.
Biggest game of the season might be this weekend, Georgia, Alabama. Primetime 8:00 game, 2 versus 3.
Yeah, there we go. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get into some NFL picks. Last week, me and Malik both made some bold calls. I was able to get one right with the Raiders and the Chiefs. Gave me 4 correct picks on the week. Malik also got 4 correct picks on the week. I'm just going by the picks that we differed on. I'm not even counting the other ones, just to keep it simple.
Did I pick the Eagles over the Steelers?
No, we both picked the Steelers.
Okay.
Um,
I'm happy I didn't. Yeah.
so on our differing picks, Malik got 4, I got 4. So right now it stands at 15-14. No movement was made. Malik's still up by 1. We'll see what happens.
I
Going
feel like
into
it might
this week.
stay like this.
That's
for the rest
usually
of the
what it is.
season.
Usually it's Chris that's the outlier for this. And,
Absolutely.
ever since we lost Chris on the show, we don't have those extra hot takes, I guess. I like to bring hot takes every once in a while, but Chris likes to,
It used to be Joey's hot takes too. So
Yeah.
he needs to get some stuff cooking up there, Joey.
yeah. Well, I mean, I got some here and there, but usually those are for March Madness and stuff. So maybe for Big Ten we'll get some. All right, starting off the week, we got Houston playing Tennessee. Houston coming off their first win of the season finally. Deshaun Watson finally looking pretty good. Still threw 2 picks in this game last week. And then Tennessee just steamrolled Buffalo last night, which was a big surprise after having their quote-unquote bye week. But all their practice facilities were closed for most of that time. So they were very well rested. But I expected them to be a little bit more rusty, at least play calling wise and just synergy wise.
Yeah.
But they looked good.
They look like a well-oiled machine right now.
And they
like-
did get A.J. Brown back in that game.
Exactly. That helped a bunch. He scored the first touchdown of the game, but they know their identities. There are no question marks. They know exactly what they have and what they need to do, and they look like a team that knows that. Ryan Tannehill is a guy that's not going to make many mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to hit those big throws when you need him to.
Yeah.
He's going to keep the offense steady. You're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. What he did to Josh Norman in that game.
It was silly.
The way he treats grown men, he just throws them like children.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculous.
Well, I mean, how often, especially nowadays, how often do you see a 6'3",
250
running back? Like when he's out
Yeah.
there and he gets into the secondary, he's just towers over these DBs.
But he also has 4.5 speed.
yeah, it's insane.
So he can run over you, and then once he gets to the secondary,
he can run
he
past.
can run past you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. He didn't have a great game overall. He did have 2 touchdowns, but the average yards per carry weren't that great. But I think just Tennessee is just rolling from last year. I'm going to take them in this game. I think Houston is still trying to sort out some problems. It's great that they got their win after firing Bill O'Brien. Maybe that loosened the team up. They got Brandon Cooks a lot more involved, which I think they needed to do. But I just think Tennessee's got too much going for them right now.
I am also going to go with Tennessee. I think Houston is they're in a more positive place right now. Romeo Crennel has been known as more of a player's coach.
Yeah.
He's a guy that really he connects with his players. He knows how to get the most out of them. And I think it kind of showed in this game. Brandon Cooks he's had a few games with 5-6 catches, but not a huge impact.
Yeah.
He looked like there were glimpses of prime Brandon Cooks in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were honestly, they looked confident on offense, and they looked like they knew what their game plan was, and they were executing it.
Yeah.
So
the
yeah,
funny
even
thing,
though it was against the Jaguars, a win is a win.
yeah, and the funny thing, you say prime Brandon Cooks is like, Brandon Cooks is what, 26, 27, 28?
The
Like
injuries,
he's still
yeah.
really young. But yeah, the injury history has been the main
Like
concern.
once he left the Saints, he had a few really good seasons that he still had, but yeah, once those injuries started adding up,
Yeah.
he started losing a bit of burst.
Yep. Cincinnati at Indianapolis. I finally pulled a Chris for once. Chris always would say Indiana for Indianapolis.
I'm interested to see who you pick in this one. Indianapolis, they're losing some ground right now.
They haven't looked as good. Obviously, they're getting kind of busted up by Cleveland. Cleveland's a pretty hot team right now, though, so I can't blame them too much. But I feel like they need to get Jonathan Taylor more involved. Like,
I agree.
he had a decent game, and yeah, there's been times where he hasn't looked as great as people thought he might. But you got to get the guy more touches. Like, I know too. Some people are concerned that he had such a big workload at Wisconsin. They want to still ease him in, but he's a workhorse, and a workhorse you're only going to get a few good years out of him. So I would just pound the rock now.
Yeah, I feel like they've relied way too much on Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
I think he showed last year he lost some of what he has. The juice in his arm, those sideline throw, he's floating a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting a lot of velocity on his throws. He's either air mails or under throws. He still has some good accurate throws in there, but the consistency just isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have a good stable of running back, even with Marlon Mack out.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Jonathan Taylor, you've got Naheem Hines,
Even Jordan Wilkins,
exactly. You've even got Jordan Wilkins,
one of the better offensive lines in the NFL.
Yeah, if you lead with the run game, then go play action. Then you can hit some more big plays. You don't even have to go deep a whole bunch. Go short to intermediate, because it's clear Phillip, he's not that gunslinger that he was for all those years in San Diego.
Just follow what the Saints are doing. Dink and dunk.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
Drew Brees hits the throws he needs to hit,
Mhm.
and he's always going to be accurate, short and medium.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they need to switch up their game plan.
And then I think a lot of people were saying that Jonathan Taylor, isn't like, he doesn't catch out of the backfield very much. Well, in the first game of the season, he caught 6 passes, and he looked good doing it. Ever since then, they've hardly thrown it to him. And even if you don't trust him, like we said, you have Naheem Hines, who's one of the best receiving backs in the NFL, I would say, and utilize them. Like, just dink and dunk. I feel like that team is perfectly made for the dink and dunk type offense, and they have a really good defense. Granted, they gave up some points against Cleveland, but they caused turnovers. And, when their defense has to be on the field for so long, eventually they're going to give up points.
Yeah, I honestly think this might be a bold statement, but I think they might need to go back to Jacoby Brissett at some point, because I think they're going to disappoint in a few more games, and I think he's a better fit for this offense than Phillip Rivers is.
Yeah.
They brought in Phillip because of his pedigree and his name and the fact that he's been such a great leader of that Chargers organization for so long.
Yeah.
He's instantly going to upgrade our offense, right?
Right.
He's not he wasn't just a plug and play guy that's going to fit into any scheme.
Yep. And I still think they're trying to bounce back from the Andrew Luck loss.
Exactly.
Their team is still very talented, and they're like on the cusp of being able to be a playoff team.
Yeah, the kid they drafted out of Washington, his name is slipping by me right now. I think they drafted him in like the 3rd round. Huge, big arm dude. But they might have to go to him in the next few years. Having Phillip Rivers is good for that, but I wouldn't be mad if Phillip Rivers was a backup and he was teaching that kid on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Because I think Jacoby Brissett gives them a better chance in a lot of these games.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't necessarily think they would, just because of, Phillip Rivers was the big offseason thing.
Because they've upgraded so much, they have too much pride to just, like, give up.
I'm going to actually still end up going with Indy in this game. I think Cincinnati is still figuring it out. Their defense is terrible. Their offensive line isn't very good. And I feel like they need Joe Mixon to get going, and Indy's run defense is pretty good. So I think that Indianapolis is going to be able to control the ball and be able to still win this one.
I consider taking Cincinnati, but everything they have up against them now is too much. Sam Hubbard is probably going to be out. I think they got DJ Reader in free agency. I think he's hurt too.
Yeah, he just got hurt.
Joe Burrow's taking such a beating, and that Indianapolis defense is no joke. AJ Green seems like he's checked out at this point.
Yeah,
there was a clip of him. It looked like he was saying, "Trade me" on the sidelines.
I was going to say there's a lot of trade rumors, and I don't think Cincinnati would be mad at that.
I don't know why I think we talked about this before. Why didn't they trade him before the season?
In the offseason.
Yeah, they knew Andy Dalton was going to be out.
Yep.
Why keep holding on to AJ Green when it's clear he's not the same receiver he was?
And they drafted
when
T.
he was
Higgins.
the young. Exactly. Besides maybe just keeping him to help out T. Higgins, AJ Green isn't giving you much.
Yeah, and like we always say, they have one of the most stacked wide receiver cores in the NFL. The Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, they got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, even John Ross.
John Ross has he been hurt?
I think so.
I haven't seen him at all.
He hasn't really played.
Yeah.
But even like guys like Auden Tate, I think, are still on that bench.
Even
if they need to go to.
The tight end sample has looked pretty good in the times they give him chances to catch the ball too.
Yeah. So yeah, both going Indianapolis. Atlanta and Minnesota.
Oh, what a game.
Yikes.
What a game.
I keep thinking Atlanta's going to win a game, and they just can't figure it out. They finally fired Dan Quinn. probably a good idea. They also fired their GM. A little bit of a surprise, but at this point, I think they just got to blow it up.
Can I pick first on this one?
Yes, I'll say one more thing. Julio Jones is probably still going to be out for this game. He just can't get his hamstring healthy. Go ahead.
This is my first bold pick of the week.
Going with Atlanta.
I think
Minnesota is without Dalvin Cook in this game.
I think they have an inspiring rebound game like the Houston Texans. They're gonna win like at least 3 or 4 games to me.
Yeah.
Because they've been in almost every game they've played.
Mm-hmm.
It's not they're not but they don't lack talent.
Right.
It looks like the coaching was off, and it looks like there was like a lack of. It's so weird. It's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Bad luck mixed with maybe a lack of like. I don't even. How do you explain?
I don't know. To be honest,
Dan Quinn is a defensive coach, and their defenses aren't very good.
Yes, their defense that's the biggest problem. But I also think on offense, with their injuries, I'm really surprised they don't go to Hayden Hurst more often. That was like their big offseason signing for this offense. And granted, they have like Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, like incredible wide receivers.
Exactly.
But
and Todd Gurley didn't have a bad game.
Right. But to free up the outside guys, especially when Julio's hurt, I feel like you got to go inside your tight end. Like that's how they played through Austin Hooper last season, and I feel like it freed up a lot of their offense. Granted, again, their defense is terrible, so they got to make a lot of adjustments there. But
And Matt Ryan has clearly taken a step back.
he has not looked good in these last couple weeks. He started the season off looking real hot, but ever since it's kind of slowed down. So
Yeah. I think there has to be a few weeks in the season where that bad luck goes away. They're not going to go 0-16. They're not that bad of a team.
mm-hmm.
So I think they win this one. Because the Vikings are so wishy-washy. I have no idea what to like.
Yeah.
What to expect from them week to week.
Yeah. And I'm going to go with the Vikings just because I feel like I keep picking the Falcons. They keep losing. I think Minnesota is starting to get there. Obviously, losing Dalvin Cook for this game, possibly. And then they have their bye week the next week. Kind of hurts, but they do have Alexander Madison, one of the better backups. Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen have been like rock solid as a connection. They didn't get Justin Jefferson involved as much last week. I think he's going to tear up this Atlanta secondary this week. And I think it's just going to be a little too much. I think Minnesota's defense is still decent enough to get the job done. So I'm going with Minnesota. Denver, New England, the game that got postponed from last week, now moved to this week.
Still no word if Cam Newton is playing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, what they're going to do with that. Also, Melvin Gordon was charged with a DUI.
Yeah.
What a dummy. What a dummy. Probably going to get suspended for 2 to 3 games. I don't think that it affects him for this week, though, necessarily, because he isn't arraigned until sometime following. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten the full reports, but Philip Lindsay supposedly is supposed to be playing in this game, I believe. But I don't know. This is a weird game. I feel like New England, even with a backup quarterback, can beat this Denver team, especially if Melvin Gordon's out. He was the one that kind of scored points for them last week. And I think New England just has a good enough system and a defense that can hold Brett Rippon from doing anything. New England. Don't pick Denver.
Even after that bad game against the Jets, I like Brett Rippon.
Okay. Bad.
Should I do it?
He had a bad game against the Jets.
Should I do it?
I mean, it's up to you, Malik. These are your picks.
If I was Chris, I'd probably do it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take the Patriots.
Okay. Thank you. Now Denver will win. Washington at the Giants. NFC East matchup of the century.
Give me that football team. No thinking.
Okay.
Give me the football team.
I do like the Alex Smith comeback story, but Kyle Allen is going to start in this game, I've heard.
The Giants did look good in that game against the Cowboys.
Yeah, their offense kind of figured it out a
Yeah.
little bit.
Washington's offense is still So they're
Yeah,
actually I'm flipping.
this
I'm flipping. I'm taking the Giants.
this whole Dwayne Haskins thing, I feel like has really hurt Washington because it just seems like it's even more of a distraction now.
Well, the whole Alex Smith comeback story now is completely overshadowing the fact that you still need to see what Dwayne Haskins has
Yeah.
because you drafted him in the first round.
Well, they're probably going to
So-
trade him at this point. I don't think you can go back to Dwayne Haskins now. Now that you've decided that you're going to go with Kyle Allen, I don't see how they can go to Dwayne Haskins.
Ron Rivera said he didn't give up on him, which is extremely weird. Seeing that
To be fair, I feel like that's kind of a coach thing.
But-
You don't want to say like, "Oh, this guy's done."
But when it's clear that you're not going to win anything this season and you're building for the future, what is the point of playing Kyle Allen? Why not just let Dwayne Haskins play the entire season? It's what they did with Eli Manning in New York. They just
Yeah.
let him get beat up, throw interceptions, and take all the hits his first 2 seasons, honestly.
Yeah.
And he came out on it the other side as a solid quarterback for the rest of his career.
Yep.
It's just a weird situation to me. And the fact that he said we're not giving up on him yet, there's no point to bench him.
Yeah.
You see what you're getting with your other quarterbacks. So yeah, I hope
They didn't look
Yeah.
any better.
not at all.
They didn't look any
And
better.
they're not going to.
Poor Alex Smith goes into the game and gets sacked 6 times.
Threw him in against Aaron Donald.
So are you going to go
Great
with the
first one.
Giants now? You gonna
Yeah.
flip it.
I'm going Giants.
Okay.
They're playing very hard.
Devontae Freeman looked pretty solid last week.
He did, and Joe Judge made some calls in that game.
Mm-hmm.
That fake field goal touchdown, which still should have been a touchdown. I think
Yeah.
that call really never happens, but they just happened to call it on that one.
Yeah.
Joe Judge showed some cojones in that game.
And they did some different plays. They had a rushing touchdown from Evan Ingram, which was interesting.
Yeah.
I think they're still going to they might get Sterling Shepard back in this game, which would be pretty good. But I'm going to go with Washington, actually. So I'm glad you picked the Giants.
If that pass rush gets to Daniel Jones, it's going to be ugly.
That is the only reason that I'm going with the Redskins is because of that front four.
You said the Redskins. How dare you?
Oh my!
Well, on the
sorry
next
guys, we gotta
episode,
go.
on the next episode,
Washington football team. I think that's the first time I've actually done that too. But no, I think Washington's defense could win this game for them because the Giants' offensive line is so bad, and Daniel Jones, man, he's just looked rough this year. He looked okay last week.
It is weird that he gets a pick and a fumble every single game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he cuts out those guaranteed 2 turnovers a game,
Yeah,
but he just has to figure it out
Mhm.
because every time he gets hit, there's a chance that ball is flying out.
Yeah.
And it's like he never sees it coming, which is more of a problem.
Yep.
Is that clock in his head still is just like slow.
Yeah,
And
agree.
I wonder if it's bad QB coaching. I wonder if it's like staff change. He's still figuring out how he's like gonna play in the. It's weird.
Alrighty, Baltimore at Philadelphia.
Baltimore.
I'm going Baltimore as well. Baltimore's a bit of a concern though. on
Lamar
this
Jackson
season.
didn't play very well last game.
Their whole offense just looks off. And now I don't know if it's just, they're kind of taking it too easy or something, or I don't know what it is. It just looks off and out of sync. They're running 3 different running backs. Lamar hasn't looked as good as he did last year. I mean, their defense is winning them games, and they're getting up by so many points, they don't really have to do anything. I'd like to see them in a game where they're going to get challenged, and unfortunately, this game isn't going to be it. I think Baltimore is just too good. Philadelphia's still, they got too many issues.
Even though it was mainly the Steelers secondary that made them look so good last game.
Yeah.
Giving up 13 catches to Travis Fulgham,
Yeah.
who was a
Like
Detroit Lion.
150 some.
Who was a Detroit
I
Lion.
was going to say that name sounded familiar when it came
Yep.
up. And I was like, did he play for the Lions?
I remember when they drafted him because I remember when Old Dominion upset Virginia Tech and Travis Fulgham had like a crazy game.
Mhm.
And I was like, this kid is talented.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a solid pick in the 7th round.
Yeah.
And they just let him go.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's the Lions way.
yeah.
That's more of like a Pistons move. It's like a Chris Middleton
Oh
type
yeah,
deal.
Chris. Yeah, kind of
But yeah, I think Baltimore is just
too
they
much.
they still got a lot to prove. So I need to see something out of Baltimore in this game.
This might be a game where Lamar Jackson gets back on track.
I would like to see it for my fantasy team. Cleveland at Pittsburgh. This should be a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this one.
Cleveland is rolling right now, even without Nick Chubb. I mean, Kareem Hunt's the best backup in the league. And then Pittsburgh, their defense is solid. They had a huge game.
Their front seven is ridiculous. Their secondary is what makes them just a good defense.
Yeah,
because they're so
But they got Minka Fitzpatrick back there, so
even he had a bad game last week.
Yeah.
So if he's not on point, it's just any team can put up yards on them.
Yeah, and with them having Roethlisberger back in the lineup, I think it just helps their offense so much, just fluidity wise.
He's playing the best he's played. I think he's off to his best start since 2012.
Yeah,
and him losing a lot of weight has helped that.
Yeah, and I mean Chase Claypool put on a game last week.
Is it
4 touchdowns?
How
Should have had 5.
How insane is it that they've had maybe 2 or 3 receiver busts in the past 20 years, and they've selected like 10, 11 receivers in the draft, and they've all hit. Like there are some organizations that can't get it right at all. Bill Belichick has never drafted a truly successful receiver.
Yeah,
the Jets can't do it. Their guy's hurt right now. Like it makes no sense how the Steelers can just take him.
Yeah,
put him in there. Let's do it.
Apparently they figured something out, and now
their formula is just
they're making it look like Juju Smith-Schuster is like the 3rd receiver on this team right now, which is crazy.
Weird. He was with Antonio Brown. He was emerging into like one of the best number 2s in the league.
Yeah, and they thought when Antonio Brown left,
but they tried to make him a number 1.
Right,
making number 2s number 1s usually doesn't.
Yeah, it's usually tough to do. But that's what they were expecting, and then Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool,
even
it's
James
impressive.
Washington.
Yeah. I think Pittsburgh is actually going to win this game.
And at Pittsburgh, right?
Yes. And that may play a factor. I just think the defense is going to be a difference because Baker still hasn't looked great. He's looked good at times, and I feel like they're getting their passing game more involved now. I think that helps this team kind of shake things up. They got Austin Hooper more involved. Odell is getting some good targets. Jarvis Landry is getting involved. So they're being a more balanced offense. But I think Pittsburgh just overall defense and offense is a little bit better.
I'm going to go with Cleveland. And I think the Baker Mayfield thing, he is in a weird place where he's trying to change like who he is as a person on and off the field. Like I remember a few games ago, I think is when they beat Cincinnati at home. And in the post game, one of the lady commentators for NFL Network was like, "Baker, how did you feel this morning when you woke up?" Like when he did last year, he said, "I woke up feeling dangerous." She asked him that question, and obviously that puts him in a situation where it's like, be cocky, Baker, be the a-hole everybody expects you to be. So she sets him up, and he's like, "I don't do that anymore. I just played a good game." And everybody's like, "Oh, but he doesn't want to be that type of guy anymore." Yeah. And they're setting him up to still be that guy. So he's in a weird transition where it's like, I want to be this efficient, accurate quarterback that doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but I'm still this guy that likes to throw it around and likes to take risks because I've gotten to this place by playing that way.
Yeah.
So he's in a transition as a person and a quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's finally realized that like he's not necessarily living up to the hype that he was once at, and I think.
And honestly, that's somewhat a problem since he was the number 1 pick. But continue. I'm sorry for interrupting.
All I was gonna say is that at least he's starting to come into his own a little bit. I think sometimes guys think they're just gonna step into the NFL and be like they were in college and not realize like it's a big jump.
Yeah.
So I just think he's kind of finding his niche in this offense. Like they're a run first team, so all he needs to do is control the ball, push the ball downfield every once in a while to keep the defense honest.
And that's never been his role.
Right.
So yeah, he's figuring out this new role. He misses on a deep throw every now and then because honestly, for Baker to get in the rhythm, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, these teams he played on, it was throw.
Yep.
Easy to get into a rhythm. Now it's run, short pass. Okay, now hit a deep throw.
Yeah.
and he's not used to doing stuff like that.
Yep.
So yeah, they got Kareem Hunt. Dearness Johnson has been kind of a revelation
Mm-hmm.
coming out of the AAF. He's been really impressive.
Yeah.
Odell looks like he's getting comfortable. Austin Hooper made some nice catches, and their defense has been pretty solid.
Yeah.
Especially their D-line, who's made it hell for a lot of teams.
Yeah. Miles
So,
Garrett is starting to live up
yeah.
to who he's known
I
for.
think they're 4-1 right now. Best start since I think like 1994. I think that's when Bill Belichick was their head coach, which is wild. But I think they win this game, and they start to establish that they're not a fluke. Like they're playing good football. They're not just some circus act like everybody expected last year.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Stefanski he's not fireworks. He's not some crazy. He's just a good football coach that's coaching a very talented team.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to show Sunday that they're just a good football team.
Right.
No hype, no nothing.
Alrighty. Chicago at Carolina. Chicago keeps finding ways to win games. I can't stand
You mean
it.
Carolina?
No, Chicago. They just beat
Oh,
Tampa
I
Bay
forgot they beat Tampa Bay.
20-19.
That game still makes no sense to
Thursday
me.
night. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Chicago is one loss on the season somehow.
They're not that good.
I don't think so. No, I feel like they're doing what the Packers did last year. Carolina, yes, they're in a similar situation. They keep winning games too, but I feel like
it's different though. Yeah.
they are showing some talent. I think Teddy Bridgewater's finally kind of figuring himself out.
He's fully healthy and like fully confident for the first time since he got hurt in Minnesota.
We're finding out that Robbie Anderson is better than just a deep threat wide receiver.
What happens when you leave Adam Gase, Joey?
He looks great in that offense.
Yeah.
Mike Davis is incredible for this team. Why do they need Christian McCaffrey back?
Hey. I'm calm down.
I'm not serious about
Yeah.
it, but it's like if you could have picked somebody to fill in for Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis is doing a pretty darn good job.
But it's not built around Mike Davis. That's the thing. When Christian McCaffrey is out there,
right,
getting him the ball is the main priority.
Mhm.
When Mike Davis is out there, it's let's just run some offense.
Yeah.
Spread the ball out, run it with Mike Davis, balanced attack.
But he's gotten like 7-8 catches in multiple games.
Yeah.
So like he fills that same role, but it's not a focus that the defense worries about. So it's like you said, it kind of allows them to spread it out more. DJ Moore is still struggling a bit. He had a big breakout touchdown, but still not getting the production that he had last year. So it's interesting. And their defense is still not that great.
They played a good game against Atlanta though.
Yeah, they've looked better as the weeks have gone on.
Yeah, that kid they drafted from Division II. I wish I remembered people's names, man. But he's playing linebacker. He's looked really good so far. He's leading them in tackles so far.
Mhm.
So yeah, they got some promising stuff.
Yeah. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Carolina in this game. Again, I NFC North hater. Don't want to have any other teams win if the Lions aren't going to win.
I'm also going Carolina.
All righty. Like to see Chicago lose. And speaking of the Lions are off their bye week. We have to watch them play again. Lions are taking on Jacksonville.
Pick the Jaguars. You want to do it.
And now, after me saying that if the Lions lost week 1, that their season was over.
You know.
And they lost, and I had to say that their season was over. And then they beat the Cardinals, which, was a decent win. Made me feel a little bit better, a little bit more excited to at least watch some games. This is the game. If they lose, just go get Trevor Lawrence. That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from Jacksonville because they've looked pretty decent at times. Their defense has struggled, but on offense, they got some weapons. They can do some things. But if the Lions lose this game, it's over. This is their easiest stretch of their schedule is coming off this bye week. And they could win some games. They could get back to like 500 or something.
Or
they lose these games.
They could chalk it up.
And then they have a tough schedule down the road.
Let's cleanse ourselves. Let's wipe our hands of this whole situation. That's what they could do.
Fire the boys.
That's what they should have done.
Oh, boy.
Who are you picking, man?
I'm still going Detroit because
at Jacksonville,
yeah,
with those fans,
get some warm weather off their bye week.
I think they're gonna have full capacity. Florida teams can have full. You think they're going to go into that with all that crowd noise? You sure about this?
Their game going to get canceled.
I want you to seriously think about this, Joey.
Jacksonville might be without DJ Chark.
That is going to be a hellacious atmosphere for the Lions.
I don't.
Colin Johnson is emerging. James Robinson is a really good rookie running back.
Solid.
Gardner Minshew can show up and be superstar one week and be average another.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Lions. What do you think he's going to do this week? Who you picking, Joey?
I'm picking Detroit. You know I am.
Jacksonville for the win.
All righty. Well, at least we have some.
You are going to regret this so much.
I don't think so.
Oh, my God.
Jacksonville might be without DJ Chark. He's like their best talent on offense. They do have a lot of good receivers. They throw a lot of weird things at you with Laviska Shenault and things like that. I don't know, man. Every time I look on paper, like Detroit looks like they should be all right. And they're not.
How many times have they killed you?
Oh, my goodness. All right, we're just moving on. We got another game to talk. Ah, dang it. Now we got to talk about the Jets. Jets and the Dolphins. At the Dolphins. All right, easy pick, Dolphins. Dolphins have looked really good recently. But we wanted to talk quickly about the Jets. The Jets have released Le'Veon Bell before they released Adam Gase. If that doesn't show you the state of this team, and I'm not even saying like Le'Veon Bell is what Le'Veon Bell was a couple years ago. He's not. But we've hardly seen him this year, and he's looked okay.
The reason why he's been so unproductive is because of the way they've used him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he missed a step. Most running backs miss a step once they get to 28, 29.
Yeah.
But Adam Gase didn't want him.
Yeah.
He signed Frank Gore because that's the type of back he wants.
Yeah. Yeah, they signed Frank Gore to play. And they drafted
42
LaMichael Pirine too. So,
yeah.
No, I don't know. The Jets are a problem. A big problem.
I think that's the biggest understatement of the year. This is I put out a tweet yesterday where I think if this is a major league situation, it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know the movie Major League?
Yeah.
They have to be just putting nobodies on this team to try to move the team somewhere because what's really happening can't be real.
Yeah.
A major league situation makes more sense than this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
they're going to keep Adam Gase. I think it's clear at this point.
I have nothing further to say. If they keep Adam Gase, it's like if Cleveland would have kept Freddie Kitchens. That's exactly what we're looking at right now. And Jets fans, I'm sorry. Chris, I'm sorry.
Adam Gase is an offensive genius, Joey. Have you heard?
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And do you see how much better that offense is playing in Miami without him?
Yeah, they put up like 43 points against one of the better defenses in the league.
Devontae Parker got better.
Interesting.
Things just become positive once that man is out.
Curious. Watch the Lions get Adam Gase when he gets released.
I didn't even pick the game, and I'm you know I'm not picking the Jets.
Yeah. 0-16. Great possibility.
I hope they go 0-16 and still get the second pick.
Or they go 0-16
Just some insane odds.
Pick some random player. All right, Green Bay at Tampa Bay. Which Tom Brady are we going to get? The good one or the bad one? The one that throws 5 touchdowns or the one that throws 1 and a pick? And doesn't know what down it is.
This matchup is supposed to be more exciting than what people thought. This is supposed to be like, oh man, the exciting Buccaneers versus the undefeated Packers. This is incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm going Green Bay.
I was going to say, well, we only have 3 differing picks right now. So I guess I'll go Tampa Bay because their defense is pretty good. But man, Green Bay has looked really good, and I hate to even admit it. But I'm glad because last year I thought that they made it and they weren't good. This year, at least they look like they're going to make it. They're going to come out of the North, and they look good. Aaron Rodgers looks back to form. I don't know if they're going to finally get Devontae Adams back in this game or not. But that's going to be a problem when he comes back, I think. I'm going Tampa Bay just to be different. My one thing for Tampa Bay is that, we might get the good Tom Brady. Ronald Jones has looked pretty decent, and Tampa Bay's defense is good. So maybe they can stop Aaron Jones or something. I don't know. We'll see. LA Rams at the struggling San Francisco 49ers. I don't really know what to think about the 49ers because when they got George Kittle back, he had a crazy game. And then this last week, he had a not so great game. Raheem Mostert had like 8 carries for 90 yards in this past game, and that's it. Granted, they fell to the Dolphins real quick. Dolphins put up a lot of points really fast. Dolphins scored 3 field goals in the last 2 minutes of the first half in that game because of some crazy antics. I keep thinking the 49ers are going to figure something out, but their quarterback play has been a problem.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo didn't look like he was back. He didn't look like he was healthy. So they threw in C.J. Beathard. He looked like he was struggling a bit. I don't know what to think about the San Francisco team.
Everything that could have gone wrong this season went wrong.
Yeah. I mean, they've been so banged up. That's the biggest problem. But at the same time, you still figured they would have gotten something to work out. And they just haven't. And they got beat up last week. I don't think the Rams are going to beat them up like the Dolphins did, but the Rams have looked pretty good, I think, recently. They've gotten their offense going again. And if you have the 49ers quarterbacks back there with Aaron Donald running down their necks, I don't know. I can't see them winning this game. I think I'm going to go with the Rams.
This game might end like 37-0. There's literally I can't think of a positive or like any upside the 49ers have in this game. There's not a single point.
It's disappointing.
It really is.
From a team that made it all the way last year.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Kansas City at Buffalo. This game was the Thursday night game for this week. Was supposed to be played tomorrow, but because Buffalo played yesterday, obviously they're not going to play within 2 days. So they moved it to Monday night. Should be fun to get 2 Monday night games. Kansas City coming off their first loss to the Raiders, which was a really fun one to watch. Henry Ruggs had a crazy catch in that game. And Derek Carr kind of lit up the Kansas City defense for the most part. Both quarterbacks threw their first pick of the year, Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes. And then Buffalo got trounced last night by Tennessee, like we said at the top of the show. Buffalo looked a little bit off yesterday. And I don't know if that's going to carry on into this Kansas City game, but that's a rough follow-up to go and have to play Patrick Mahomes now. They do get the game at home, so that is nice. But I don't know if they're going to be able to bounce back or not. They didn't get their running game going last night, and I think that was their biggest problem. They couldn't get anything going with Devin Singletary. I feel like they didn't throw any checkdowns to him either, which they did in the previous week. And then, I mean, they just gave up a lot of points, and usually their defense is a pretty strong suit. And when your defense gives up a lot of points, and then you got to play Kansas City next week, it's kind of tough. Either way, I'm still going Buffalo. I don't know. Just riding the wave.
Both teams coming off of disappointing games. Both teams that should rebound pretty quickly to me. I think Buffalo is for real, and Kansas City, we know they're going to be one of the teams that's there when it's all near the end.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to pick Buffalo, but you picked first. So Pat Mahomes is going to come back with a vengeance. He's throwing for at least 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill's going to go for a big one. Travis Kelce's going to have like 10 catches. Even Clyde Edwards-Helaire might get 5 or 6.
That'd be nice.
It's going to be a show.
I'd like that for my fantasy team.
Might be a lot of points up in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Might be like 41-35 near the end. Maybe in the 40s.
Could be.
But
I'd like to see it. Should be a fun game.
I'm going Chiefs. Give me Pat Mahomes.
Alrighty. So we got a little AFC battle, and then the other Monday night game is a little NFC battle. We got the Cardinals playing the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, the Cowboys have lost Dak Prescott for the season. Had a gruesome compound fracture to his ankle. Did not look good at all. But the one bright side, and I'm not speaking about his hair, Andy Dalton is your backup quarterback.
I like that.
He's
I like
possibly
the bright.
he's possibly the best backup quarterback to have in the league. Former starter for the Cincinnati Bengals for 9 seasons.
Got them to the playoffs.
Made it to the
Most
playoffs.
of the seasons he was there.
He's had a lot of experience.
Couldn't win one.
I never thought that he was a bad quarterback. He's always been solid.
He's always been good.
Just could never really get over the top. He's kind of a gunslinger at times. He throws some picks. But now in this Dallas offense, he has so many weapons. I think he's going to be able to do just fine. Their defense is still such a problem. And then Arizona, I can't figure them out.
They've been them not getting that running game going shows their O-line is still a major problem that they were last season.
Yeah.
Even though Kenyon Drake had a great end to the last season.
Mm-hmm. And I can't see them, like Chase Edmonds has actually looked better than Kenyon Drake, but I can't see them switching to Chase Edmonds because, they invested in Kenyon Drake.
They'll probably just give them equal carries.
Yeah, so it's really tough to figure out. I mean, Kyler has been great. Connecting with DeAndre Hopkins has been really good for them. Their defense is still also kind of trying to figure things out. Luckily, they got the Jets last week, so, kind of have a bye week there. I think this is going to be another high-scoring game. It seems like Dallas is always going to be in those kind of games, shootouts. I'll let you pick first.
I think the Jets are a great re-up game for every team in this
Get
league.
your confidence up.
I think the Cardinals needed a game like that, especially going into this, which is a huge matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game is gonna tell a lot of things for both of these teams for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Although the Cowboys won that last game after Dak went out, Andy Dalton was able to get them down there and they hit the field goal. That defense is still an atrocious problem.
Mm-hmm. It's really bad.
They still barely get a rush. They got a little bit more last week, but that rush has still been a problem. That secondary is beyond ridiculously bad.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is they've got guys starting that shouldn't be starting. And then Trayvon Diggs is still a rookie.
Yep.
So he's talented, but he's going to have his missed assignments at times.
Right.
And then the lack of effort is the thing that really kills me. Maybe they start playing a little bit harder, start playing hard for Dak. But just them turning it around just like that and playing hard every snap after being a team that we've seen takes plays off.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost ingrained with this team right now that, we're going to play hard some snaps. We're going to take some off, and whatever comes. Whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyler is going to run all over that front seven. I think it's going to be really, really difficult for them to get their hands on him. I think they get their running game going a little bit more. I think Kenyon Drake has a solid game. And I think him and those receivers, more than just DeAndre Hopkins, I think him and the whole receiving core start to get it going even more.
Yeah.
And I think the Cardinals win by a touchdown.
Alrighty. Well, just to make it fun and interesting for Monday night, we're going to have both Monday night games
Did you
differing.
pick the Cowboys? Oh, okay.
I'm going to pick the Cowboys, and
It's a good chance they could win.
And I'm going to use the thing that you brought up. I think the Dak factor is actually going to be a little bit of an inspiration for the team going forward. I think having Andy Dalton, the veteran, that, now again has one of the best offensive weapons in the game with all these guys, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's going to be able to thrive in this offense. And I think they're going to go a little bit more conservative. I think they're going to go back to more focusing on Zeke. And I think they're going to play a little bit more controlled, but they'll still air it out, I think, because, they're going to have to because their defense is so bad. But I think that this, just offensive weapons-wise, is going to win them this game. And I think that Dallas is just going to put up points. And I don't think that Arizona can quite keep up with it. I think Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins can, but I still haven't figured out if like we said, Kenyon Drake is going to step up or Christian Kirk or something like that. I think they need like one other guy to be able to diversify their offense, and I haven't seen it yet from Arizona. So I'm going to go with Dallas in this one. So we have 6 different picks this week.
Nice.
Nothing too crazy. There should be a lot of close games on the differing ones. We'll see how the Lions come back after their bye week, hopefully a little bit better.
That Lions game is going to be the loser for you this week.
Well,
I'm predicting it right now.
it won't be a loser, hopefully, come next season when they can draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. All right, last bit of news. The NBA season has concluded. The NBA finals are over. And unfortunately, the Lakers have won. The Heat, they gave it a little bit of a run. They ended up winning Game 5, which was cool to see. Duncan Robinson had a great game. Fun to see. And then in Game 6, they just looked terrible.
It looked like they were all out of juice.
I kind of
They had
forgot.
no energy.
I kind of forgot the game started. I turned the game on, and it seemed like they were already down by 20.
At the end of the first quarter, they were still in it, but they only had like 22 points.
Yeah.
And it was just clear that they didn't have much left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Lakers have now won their 17th title to tie the Celtics for all time in franchise titles. Kind of crazy that those teams are still going back and forth, even though, we haven't seen the Lakers title since 2010 and the Celtics since 08, or is it 09?
Celtics, yeah, 08.
So crazy to think about. LeBron also joined some rare company of 4 titles and 4 finals MVPs, along with Bill Russell, Kareem, and Michael Jordan. So the one thing that I wanted to bring up, does this NBA Finals, to you personally, and then I'll answer it myself, does this NBA championship get an asterisk to it because of the bubble and the situation?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it does, because it's mainly because of how much of a ridiculous, surprising success the bubble was.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that thought the NBA season, like, it wouldn't even reach the playoffs. A lot of people thought there would be COVID cases breaking out. They would have to go home before the playoffs even started, or the atmosphere would be terrible. No crowd noise would hurt everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of play was just as great and raised in a lot of different levels. Every playoff game didn't seem unnatural without fans. It still had that playoff atmosphere. Like it was NBA basketball, and there wasn't much. Yeah, having fans there is great, but when the level of play is that high, you can sacrifice fans. Just seeing that level of play through each round was so great, and even though it was a result that we don't like exactly, I would have loved to see the Heat win it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a success.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think you could put an asterisk on something that went that well.
Mm-hmm.
Not really any major injury. Were there weren't any major injuries, were there?
No, the Rondo thing was a bit, and we saw that definitely helped getting him back. But other than that, yeah, not really. Not super significant, at least.
Like Porzingis was the one.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't play most of the Clipper series.
Maybe a little bit to an extent. Of course, we really don't know because it was first round. Damian Lillard exiting early in that one. But other than that, yeah, I don't think so. I'm still up in the air, to be honest. Like, I feel like there's maybe a slight asterisk, or at least people will knock this championship because it was the bubble. Obviously, like, viewership was down, ratings weren't great. And you don't get that same stadium atmosphere, even though the level of play did get to a playoff level by the end of it. It didn't start that way, and it felt like it took a while for teams to kind of get into that mentality. And like we saw too, is that would the Nuggets have made such a good run if they were in stadiums? It seemed like they were more comfortable in this bubble. So you don't know how teams would have played, being able to be in an actual facility or at their home court. I'm not really sure.
I think taking out home court advantage was a really interesting part of it.
Yeah.
I kind of like that part.
I
at least
do.
just for these playoffs.
Yeah, and I do and I don't because it adds such an element, I think, in basketball because fans are so close to people. But yeah, I think it was interesting, and that's kind of where I'm kind of at a loss is that it helped and then it didn't. And so part of me says, well, they won, but they were in the bubble, shortened season. Seedings didn't necessarily maybe play out like they would have if you played the rest of the full season. Who knows? I don't know. Am I disappointed? Yes. I didn't want the Lakers to win. I thought the Clippers had the best chance to win. And then even when we got to the finals, I thought the Heat have a little bit of a chance. But the Lakers won. I'm not super mad just because, you do it for Kobe. So at least in that facet, I think of it like that. And I'm somewhat okay with it. But, I don't think I'll ever be a LeBron fan. And that's maybe unfortunate. But
I think
I respect the game.
if you weren't a Laker or a LeBron fan, I can see why this finals wasn't very like a
Yeah.
thing everybody wanted to run to see, because AD and Bron getting together wasn't good for anybody except Lakers fans, honestly.
Right.
Nobody was like, "Oh, I can't wait to see that and I'd love to see it." I'm sure some people, just because they love to see like super duos and
Mm-hmm.
the big threes and such, but yeah, this is all for Lakers fans.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kobe was my guy. Once he retired, I really, even in his last few years, like when he was injured, I didn't care much about the Lakers. I just tuned in to see Kobe.
Right.
He was my guy to the end. But yeah, I think it's a success. But yeah, I can see why the ratings were down.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens next year now because I think that plays into it more. We still don't know when the season's going to start necessarily.
Well,
They're talking about after Christmas at this point.
Adam Silver already said he wants to have a season in the bubble, and then he wants to try a playoffs with fans
Yeah.
at arenas.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do. The next big thing is the NBA draft, which is in November, which should be interesting. Speaking of the draft, really quick, I'm going to touch on LaMelo Ball signing with Puma officially. I don't know if it's like big news or anything. I mean, it's news, but I think he would have been picked up just because of he's a big personality. But I still like seeing Puma getting more and more players every year. Couple coaching things. I don't think we talked about it last time. Is that the Sixers have got Doc Rivers now as their head coach? That should be interesting. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. The Rockets are looking at guys like Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy. I think those were the top two.
I feel like getting Jeff Van Gundy might be one of the worst ideas.
Yeah, I don't know. He's been out of the coaching ranks for a while now, being on television.
I think Ty Lue might be one of the only coaches that could somewhat handle that situation,
Yeah,
because handling superstars is like one of his best attributes as a coach.
yeah,
And having that system was built for D'Antoni and James Harden.
hmm
I don't see any coach doing great things with that roster and the way they played.
yeah,
So just seeing how they play next season is going to be weird.
yeah. And then other news: Pelicans are looking for a new coach. One of the guys, I can't even believe it, that is up in their top guys is Stan Van Gundy. As a Pistons fan, I would say
No.
and as a Pelicans fan, I would say
No.
please no. To be fair, though, my cousin tweeted me and had first gave me the news that Stan Van Gundy was being looked at by the Pelicans. My initial reaction was, oh my gosh, please don't do it, because I'm a Pelicans fan. But at the same time, it might be okay. He's not going to be the GM and coach like he was here. So he's not making the draft decisions, which I think was a big problem.
Yeah, he obviously knows basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a terrible coach.
Yeah.
Giving him that much power was just a stupid decision by the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was trying to form a Dwight Howard type thing with Andre Drummond,
Yeah.
which worked in 2008 and 2009, but times were changing and basketball was changing.
Yeah.
And yeah, this just forming that type of team doesn't really work anymore.
A joke that I saw on or I heard on radio recently was that, oh, well, if Stan Van Gundy goes to the Pelicans, maybe he'll trade us Zion Williamson for Blake Griffin. Whew. It's
That
rough.
would be the greatest deal in Detroit history and the worst deal in any other.
Probably
like,
NBA history, to be
yeah,
honest.
that'd be the worst deal. New Orleans fans would probably they'd probably wreck the whole Smoothie King Center.
Yeah, riot in the streets.
Yeah, it would be a whole problem.
I agree. Well, that basically wraps it up for today. We'll get more college football next week. Like I said, we'll do like a full Big Ten preview. We'll try to like speed through our NFL picks. Maybe we'll start with NFL picks, just kind of fly through them. Try to get right into college football because that's going to be a big week. Big Ten coming up. Not really anything to talk about for basketball for a little bit. Like I said, we do have some draft stuff, so we could talk about prospects again, get back into that. And then, second half of episodes, we might start doing some fun stuff.
We have an idea.
Yeah, we have
for a new either segment or podcast.
Yeah, we got some interesting
so we're
ideas
cooking up.
that we're thinking about. So hopefully we can throw those in. We'll do some like first half football stuff and then get into maybe a fun segment or something like that. We'll see how it goes. We'll try to get Chris on. We haven't had Chris on in a long time, and I think Chris would be interested in that segment.
Absolutely.
So this has been Views from the Sidelines. My partner Malik Hill. I'm Joey Tysik. We'll see you guys next time.
Joey, you already know the Lions season is done. Not much to look forward to.
Do I really?
Michigan football coming up. Should I get excited for anything?
You can get a little more excited than I am for the Lions.
That makes it worse, doesn't it?
Maybe.